Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's actually a great honor to be here. It's my first time to be at Tishk International University. And I'm grateful for the English department for inviting me to give a talk on social and emotional learning. Being a major of literature, I want to start by giving you an example about my topic from a novel. Many of you, especially the English students, know in hard times we have a quote from a headmaster, the principal of a school, who says, "Teach these boys nothing but facts. Nothing else will benefit them." So this is, I'm kind of paraphrasing what he's saying. So that's what we have been doing throughout, like in the last 2 or 3 decades, even before that. So we focus on facts. We focus on what we call intelligence, or sometimes it's called IQ. But we rarely talk about emotional intelligence, the social skills that we need in order to communicate well with other people, in order to succeed in social environments, in social interactions. Today I'll be talking about the missing link here. What is missing? Why we have people who are very, very intelligent, very smart, even some of them are scientists. However, it's very hard to deal with them. Okay? They don't have the social, the emotional intelligence needed to communicate with others. So the other thing we'll be talking about, so the difference between IQ and the ability to learn through emotional learning and what is lacking. Then we will be talking about that missing link, which is connecting the dots here. So social emotional intelligence enable us to do exactly that. Being smart at the same time to be socially competent. So then I will come to talk about social emotional learning, especially in an educational setting as we have here, to develop skills like self-awareness, self-control, and at the same time be able to succeed academically. Then I'll be talking about a number of core competencies that each student, or actually each individual, needs in order to become successful, especially in today's interconnected world. And I'll be giving you examples and skill sets that one can acquire in order to be socially and emotionally proficient or competent. And the conclusion would be a little bit different. I'll be asking you a question to imagine a scenario. I hope that I'll be able to give you information or share some ideas with you that you might be able to remember after you leave this hall. So let's start. What's missing here? Okay. If you look at this picture, you can see that we have heart and mind. Okay. We go to university. We actually go to school. We get training. Okay? So that we will be able to improve our reasoning skills, capacities. But how often do we get emotional training, social training? So, the first question is try to remember someone that you know who's very intelligent, but they have terrible social and personal lives. Okay? They are smart. Okay? Maybe they are in the top, like one of the top scientists in the world. Okay? But they are not, they have a horrible and messed up personal and social life. The other example, they become like someone who's very rich. Okay? They earn a fortune. However, they are very anxious all the time. Okay? They are never satisfied with what they have. The other thing, someone who's very powerful, capable, maybe influential in ways. However, they are very narrow-minded. Okay, if you tell them your opinion, or if you actually say opposite to what they say, they might get angry and upset with you, especially if they are your boss. Okay, so these things that those kind of people do, most of them actually they are not even aware. They are unforgiving, narrow-minded, or that their terrible social life or personal life has anything to do with their lack of those emotional and social skills. So, what do they lack? This kind of people. What's something that they need to have in order to become intelligent, powerful, if you like it, financially rich? Well, the answer is they lack emotional intelligence. So there is actually a new trend in human development that says emotional intelligence is more important than IQ. So if you look at the top CEOs of the international companies, usually they are not the smartest people in terms of IQ. They are not all Einsteins of this world. However, they have the social, emotional intelligence needed to deal with everyone. Okay? They can manage stress, they can manage difficult tasks, they can track the company's functions and dynamics, so they will be able to lead. And that's what most people lack, leadership skills. Most of us, and this is a skill that usually we acquire. It's not something, maybe there are people who are charismatic. You see somebody he has charisma. But that is a rare talent. Not everybody is charismatic. So it's something that we learn. And it starts all the way from preschool, even to people who are doing their postgraduate studies, or they are working in a company. So, what is emotional intelligence? As you can see here, it's the ability of a person to be able to monitor his own feelings or emotions and the emotions of other people. And at the same time, you'll be able to use that information to deal successfully with other people. So, in the words of Dale Carnegie, there are a lot of people who are financially rich, but they are very poor when it comes to social communication. They don't have that skill. It's very hard to deal with them, and it's very hard to make them, even like as I said, people who are your seniors, it's hard to communicate, even exchange your views, to reform a company, a school, a department. Okay, we daily interact with such kind of people. And maybe it's not their fault. Maybe it's our fault as educators. Maybe we didn't teach them or didn't provide them with the right opportunity in order to be able to do to acquire such skills. Now, so when we talk about intelligence, actually intelligence, as I said, is usually when what does come to your mind when somebody said you hear the word intelligence?
Related to the mind.
Mind, yes. What else?
IQ.
IQ, yeah. This is okay. What else?
Brainstorm.
Intelligence is something inbuilt.
Okay, so you think it's something innate, yes, right? Something innate, built in our system. Okay, so we are hardwired to have. Intelligence. What else? Do you think you can actually? Yes.
I think there's a feeling in everybody that when you say intelligence, you think that you are not intelligent. There are other people more intelligent than you.
Okay, so
that's my feeling actually. When I hear intelligence,
yes.
I think that I am not intelligent.
So you think you lack intelligence,
Maybe,
right?
maybe.
Yeah, many people think. Okay, so we understand intelligence in different ways. Actually, And it can be a very, like at the personal level, it can be, it differs from one person to another. They see it differently. So I'm sure not everyone here is studying English. Who's not studying English here? Or has studied English, okay? Us. What are we studying? Biology, okay. So, as we have, like we're talking in simple terms, it's actually the ability, intelligence, is the ability to think, to understand, and learn knowledge, and be able to use that knowledge to deal with certain situations or be able to solve certain problems. So, just because someone, we actually need a lot of good problem solvers, okay? This is a skill set that is very important, especially in business. However, that alone, just especially someone that mentioned IQ, that alone is not enough. Okay? You might be able to invent something, okay? But if you don't have social emotional learning, what you build could be actually quite destructive, right? Like the people who invented atomic bombs, okay? Well, they can be used in good way, but we are living with the fear that someone someday might be able to use it in a wrong way, okay? Especially when the people who have power are selfish people who they do whatever they can to achieve their goals. So, in terms of the American humanist psychologist, and he's also a cognitive scientist, that, as I said, people have different views of what intelligence is. For example, for an engineer, it could be becoming a great engineer. So if you are a great engineer, then you are an intelligent person. For an artist, that's different, unless if you are studying architecture, which is sort of a combination of both pure science and art. And then for entrepreneurs or athletes, it's a different thing. Okay? So, I don't know if you are, how many here watch actually football? I'm a big football fan. So who thinks that Messi or Ronaldo are intelligent when it comes to soccer or football? Or maybe Ronaldinho, we used to call him a genius, right? Yeah. Messi, okay, so I don't want to get into that controversial topic here, but
Messi
yeah.
is socially more stable than
Okay.
So he has this skill.
I've heard it said that Messi talent is inborn. It's
Okay, innate, right? It's inborn talent.
But when Cristiano,
You have to work hard, right? Hard work. Okay.
hard work.
Okay. But all right.
In terms of intelligence, there is a study says that for each pass, when the ball comes to Ronaldo, he has 500 probability at the second to know what to do with the ball.
With the ball,
So
okay.
I think this is Ronaldo.
All right.
This is scientific.
Yeah, I think you are all proving Kaufman's theory of intelligence. Each one has its different view. But yes.
Okay, so you talk about intelligence. There is a theory about, let's say, multiple intelligences by Howard Gardner. You know that?
Right.
Yes. So it's different from, let's say, IQ, which is, again, you talk about Messi. It is what is the relationship between the intelligence, the kind of intelligence is called kinesthetic. Yes, it's the relationship, the very powerful relationship between mind
And body. Yeah, that connection. Exactly. So you see that we define it differently, and for each one is different. So now, is IQ important? Of course. Do we need, as I said, problem solvers? We do. Do we need scientists? Of course. But we want them also to become, like sometimes, you probably have dealt with someone who said that he even doesn't look like a human being. Okay, they're very smart. Sometimes you use the word robot. Okay? That person is a robot. Meaning that they are very smart, but they lack social skills. Okay? It's very hard to get along with them. You might actually go and attend their workshop like you do with mine. But you might not want to have a coffee with them or invite them over for dinner. So, according to the American Dictionary of Merriam-Webster, so IQ is a number used to express apparent relative intelligence of a person, and it's usually there's a ratio, and it's related to age as well. So that determines one's performance. Okay, the ability to perform a task, basically, in of course different fields. That's why, according to the study that Kaufman did, we have usually, if you are seeing people only from that perspective, okay, the window of IQ, then we look at human beings as numbers only. Okay, if someone has IQ below 70, we call them intellectual, or they call them intellectual disabled. And average people, which is here I'm actually saying 2/3 of people, have the IQ of 85 to 155. Okay, somewhere between. It could change a bit, but yeah, that's the data. And anyone who is above 145, we call them our geniuses. Okay. Well, that could be true in terms of interpreting IQ, but this is not the whole picture. Okay? So, in education, we are not only teaching people to perform tasks, because we could do that with robots. Okay? There is something called artificial intelligence, and you probably all know, especially people in the engineering and science field, know that actually you could have robots do most of the things that we do. Okay? But if I ask a robot to interpret a text for me, that it's from literature, from a religious text, okay? Tell me about the historical background, the cultural background, the emotional interaction that one might have with that text. Maybe the most advanced robots cannot do that. This is the skill that is unique to human beings. Now, now I'm actually narrowing down my topic. Why I talked about social intelligence and IQ is that to give you a bigger picture, where we are, why are we talking about social emotional learning? Now, imagine, this is actually funny, I like funny stories. But before I actually read the story for you, I want to know, how many of you, if you answer that question, how familiar are you with social intelligence? What do you know? Like, do you feel like you know a lot about it? Extremely familiar? How many of you actually know a lot about that topic? Raise your hands if you know a lot about social emotional intelligence. Okay, you've got one. Great. Who's, good? 2, 3, 4, great. 5, 6. All right. Somehow familiar with that topic? Okay, maybe that's somehow the average. And how many people actually didn't know about that topic before this workshop, before you saw the poster? Okay, one there. Okay, good. Well, just admitting that you don't know everything about it shows that you have social and emotional skills. Because that admitting that there's a room to improve, there's a room for improvement, shows that you are socially and emotionally capable of making changes. And we'll come to that. Now, so we were talking, people talk a lot about IQ tests, right? However, how about emotional intelligence tests? Imagine you are going to an interview. They are not only evaluating or assessing your verbal, technical skills, but they are also evaluating or assessing your emotional learning. So, now it says, now this is the interviewer tells the interview, I'm sorry to say, but you have failed in your tests because you didn't even make a sad face when a sad story was narrated to you. Someone told you a sad story and you didn't show that you are sad. Okay? That's funny. But actually there is a term called empathy or sympathy, showing sympathy to other people. Okay? Why some people are ready to donate a lot of money or their time to volunteer to a cause that may be thousands of miles away from Africa, maybe Asia, or the countries that are struck by violence and natural disasters. It's because you feel a connection. You feel like you have a responsibility to fulfill a part or a task. Of course, it's not technical skill. It's not something that you have to do math or be able to be an engineer or a doctor to do it. You do it maybe even if you are giving a penny, or if you are raising awareness about an issue like cancer or autism. So the guy who got interviewed here failed the test because he didn't make a sad face. Now, coming to social emotional learning. Actually, this topic has evolved over time, and some people actually somehow resistant when it comes to implement this theory or I say process in education. And the reason for that is, first, it requires social intelligence, but apart from that, it could be costly, and it needs the environment, both physical, cultural, even social environment to implement it. It means we as teachers will have more responsibility. Parents will have more responsibility. The students will have more responsibility, especially at the early stages of the process. So, but why do we need it? Okay? If it's such a difficult process to implement, why do we need to have social intelligence? Well, if we actually implement that either in schools, even in companies, in private sector, we'll be able to teach people what we call them interpersonal skills. Who can tell me what is interpersonal skill? Do you have any idea?
So interpersonal is this sometimes said opposite to intrapersonal.
Okay.
Intrapersonal is inside
Right.
outside, while interpersonal is outside. So you with the other people.
Okay, that was good.
Communicative skills, the skills that you use for communicating and interacting with people.
Right. Communication skills. Right? How many of you write communication skills on your CVs when you apply for a job? Most people, right? Say, I can work under stress. Okay? I can communicate with different people. I can work for long hours. That could be with IQ, but you say that I have no issue dealing with people. Alright? But when it comes to reality, most of us have problems. So that is about those skills, but also attitudes. What made you come to this workshop? How many of you were actually required to come? Maybe not everyone, right? So your attitude to learn something new, to interact with your colleagues, with your teachers, with people from other fields, it's an attitude. It's a positive attitude toward learning. Unfortunately, many people don't have that skill. Okay? everything is bad, nothing is going to change, we are where we are, and that's it. Full stop. So we don't make effort, or we don't have that positive attitude. So we need to, apart from teaching them skills, we also have to teach them the attitudes. That attitude will enable them to actually use the personal skills needed to deal in different environments. The other thing is allows people to become more sympathetic toward others. Okay, okay, so you drive back home. On the way, you see that someone in this hot weather has got a flat tire. Okay, and there's no mechanic around. You might just stop and give them a bottle of water. Okay, you might not be a mechanic, but that would alone is a great effort, right? So it teaches you to relate to people, to understand their needs, their problems. If you are a teacher, a student comes to you, he's late for the first day, okay? The second day, or the student cannot turn in assignments on time, okay? Or your friend who used to hang out with you, he's no longer showing up. Okay, so what's the problem with him? Okay, you might say, okay, he's no longer a good friend, or he's not longer a good student, let's just ignore them. But if you have strong emotional and social intelligence, you try to understand what's going on. Why that good friend of mine is no longer calling me, or he doesn't or she doesn't want to hang out with me. You want to get to the root of the problems. And with teaching social emotional learning, we'll be able to build our people, like our students, our children, to do exactly that. And also, it creates positive relationships. How many of you like the workplace culture or environment? How many of you are excited when you go to college or to your workplace? Okay? So, okay. Are you happy? Okay, great. Many people, that's good. Meaning that in that place there are a lot, if not everyone, has the social and emotional skills to deal with you. They help you feel home. They help you to feel like actually the workplace is your second home. We also have in environments. You are just okay. So today, when is gonna be Friday? It's gonna be Saturday tomorrow. Okay. So people don't want to. They are fed up. Mostly, sometimes not about their job. Okay. They might have actually great jobs. Okay. If you put them in terms of like maybe income or social status, but people are not happy with their jobs.
Some people.
Yeah, well, why do you think it's the case? By the way, I don't know if I'm using more time than I have to. Just let me know if I'm running out of time.
We still have 18 minutes.
Okay, great. I should be able. Okay, so I kind of forgot my question, but in terms of like work environment, okay, or many of you said that actually you are happy to work. But you see also there are people who are not happy. What makes those people not to be happy? They are engineers, they are doctors, they are teachers. Maybe they are not maybe as happy as someone who's working a job that doesn't require a lot of skills or doesn't have that social status, unfortunately, in our community or society. What makes people to hate their jobs?
Family issues, family works.
Family issues, okay? So it means that they have issues at home, yes?
The environment around them.
The environment, workplace or home?
No, workplace.
Workplace, yes, the lady over there?
I was just saying the environment is the same.
The environment, okay. All right, so environment plays a great role. And who creates the environment?
Toxic people.
Toxic people create toxic environment, that's correct. Good people,
Our psychology
Yeah.
is the environment. We can deal
our
with
psychology, right?
Yeah.
Our psychology creates the environment, but also, for example, thanks to the people who organize this event, right? So you feel welcome in this environment. But if someone stands up here shouting at everyone, I'm sure you will all leave the room, okay? You don't stand such kind of people. So people, sometimes you say, okay, it's a personal issue, but it's not. If you are not positive, you create a negative, or you send negative energy to people around you too. So when people actually make hiring decisions, especially these days, sometimes they make that decision not based on your IQ, but how you actually did in the how you dealt with the interviewer, the people that you met. Okay, the way you came into the room, how you went out, what did you say to them, were you mean to them or the people? Okay, so I actually had a friend who said, in order to know if someone is actually worth being a friend, is not someone who acts well in front of you, but when, for example, you go to a restaurant and see how they act or react to the waitress. He or she will she or he respect the waitress? So that shows their social skills, not because you are equal, socially equal. That doesn't show a lot, because you might have interests. But so most of this, the people, for example, in school, students who are have a higher income or belong to a upper social class, sometimes they look down on people who are less fortunate than them with this thing, and creates problems like bullying in school, even at the university level, right? We kind of create those segregated groups of people because people lack this skills. Above all, you want people to be responsible, okay? So I'm sure that all you have families, right? Either working or living or are at home right now, okay? And you all have maybe a device, a computer, money or something left in their custody, okay? And because you know that they are responsible and caring, that's why you are not worried. Maybe you left your kids with someone, right? They are babysitting their kids. But if you are not sure that they are acting responsibly and they are caring, then you will not delegate that responsibility to them. So it's the same thing with students. We want students to be responsible. If you come to the class every day, okay, making sure that everybody's studied for that day, you spend the entire time, if you are asking questions, especially if you have a group, you might not be able to do that. We want students to study themselves, not to be forced to study. The other thing is, it's actually a part of a continuous human education and development. By the way, I actually say that I've heard from other people, I think our greatest teachers are our parents, educators. They educate us, they teach us how to act in social situations. We are rarely taught in school certain skills that we acquired or achieved or got from our parents or close relatives or friends. Okay? When they tell you go to that, or you go to an event and say you wear that clothes, not that one. Okay? So that person's from that culture, don't say this or that. They will be offended. But if people don't have social intelligence, they might offend you, and they even don't know that they are offending you. Okay, so actually there are 5 core skills. If you have social and emotional competence, the competencies actually can be divided into 5. Self-awareness. This is about how you conduct yourself. How do you act when you are around other people? That is not only acting, but what you say. How you make other people feel. Okay? How many of you had a friend or a relative who continuously says things that make you feel uncomfortable? Have you ever had someone who says things that you don't like? And they usually do it. They keep doing it. And
There's people like that around us.
there are a lot of people, right? And you know that, but they don't know that they actually are making you feel that way. They don't know that they are causing headache. And if you ask them why you did that, they say, I didn't mean it. That was not my intention. It was unintentional. The other thing is self-management, and that's very important for success. Both at the personal level, but also if you are a student or a teacher or a scholar. Now, when you came to university today, you all had a sort of plan, right? You kind of know what you want to do after you leave this workshop. If people have class, might go to classes. You have made some plans, right? But people with social, emotional, or strong social, they kind of structure their days. It's not just a to-do list, by the way, but they are structuring their plans around their goals. And that's very important for students and teachers as well, because most of the students who fail is not that they don't have enough time, there's not enough resource, or that they lack friends or people support for it. Is that they don't seek support. Is that they don't have self-control, as it's mentioned here. Okay? And when they are, especially in a stressful environment, they cannot act or interact well, and they are causing problem not only for themselves but also for people around them. And of course, these are all related to, for example, when you talk about here, like relationship skills. That's because here we are not only talking about romantic relationship. That's actually a very tiny part of it. We are talking about relationship with others. How many friends do you have? Do you think? How many friends do you have on social media, on Facebook, if you use it, or Instagram? Who has less than 100? You have less than 100?
Yeah.
Salute to you, actually. How many? Less than 20, okay. What is? You don't have Facebook, okay. Well, I'm not saying using Facebook is good or bad. What I'm saying is that we know that all the people who are friends on Facebook are actually not actual friends. Okay? You share a space with them. Of course, you want to be respectful to them. You get ideas from them, but they are actually not actual friends. Maybe it's the small circle you have. Not all your colleagues are your friends either. Just because someone is not your friend doesn't mean they are your enemy, though. You still have to deal with them, right? You have to interact with them. If you are a teacher, you don't need to be friends with all your students.
There's a saying that says you have to be friendly with your students, but not a friend.
Actually, I was going to say that. Be friendly. Okay? Being friendly is important. Because if your student doesn't like you, they might not learn much from you. Okay? How many school teachers do you remember? Like, you remember, like, if you think, who was the first school teacher that comes to your mind? Especially if it's
Some bad ones and
some good ones. When you say good and bad, how many of you actually, because they didn't know how to teach their classes?
No, it was not because of teaching, the way they taught.
The way they taught, right? The way they taught with you. So we actually say we don't remember actually what someone said to us, but we remember how they made us feel, right? So that is emotional intelligence, and that is the social relationship skills you need to build. The other one here is being responsible. It's time. Okay.
5 minutes for
5 minutes? Okay. I'm actually gonna go. These are some skills I just talked about. So, for example, with self-governance will be like being able to identify emotions, or for example, examining bias, okay? We feel we are always right, but maybe that's not the case all the time. Or with self-management, it's about self-discipline, self-motivation. How you motivate yourself to do a task that's hard, right? What made you wake up in the morning? All right? So maybe there's some emotion, there's maybe some stress, maybe a combination of both. But if it's motivation, it would be better. With social skills, we know that how to talk to other people and show empathy and compassion. The other one, in human relation, we need skills to communicate. The last one, being able to make good and sound decisions. This is also important. We make decisions in our lives. We have to. Sometimes you have to do it in split seconds. All our decisions are not good. But if we have social and emotional intelligence, we consider a lot of factors, especially the impact it has on other people and ourselves in the future. How does that impact? So I think I talked about the reasons for teaching emotional to succeed academically, to be healthy, mentally healthy usually, other ways as well. And that could also help you to have rewarding careers. Because if people like you in your workplace, that's a bonus, okay? And you will also enjoy your job, as I mentioned, whether you feel welcome in your workplace. And for us educators, also, it helps us to promote what we call educational equity, but not equality. Okay. So if we are talking about equality, maybe all the people should stand next to each other. So we are putting books under their feet, so that, for example, if they are looking at a soccer match, all of them will be able to see it.
Justice.
Yeah, that's justice. That's equity. So this is something we also have to consider when we teach, when we interact with people. Sometimes you give more attention to someone else because we know that they need it. Of course, we could do it through school and community partnership, through curriculum, and also association of the academic and what we call social emotional skills or learning. And it requires assessment as well at different levels, actually. The last thing is, if you are teaching or even if you are a student, try to have a voice. Try to let your students talk, say what they have, hear their views, even if they sound stupid. Okay, it's okay. The last thing, actually, I'm sorry, I think I'm taking other people's time, but it's actually my conclusion. We talk about the skills. Now, based on what you heard and what you already know about social and emotional intelligence, think about a person in your life, usually a young person who could be still a child, a teenager, or they are still in college, or they are about to graduate. What do you hope that they will be able to learn and to do in the future? If you remember when we were in elementary school, the teachers asked, what do you want to become? We used to say doctors, engineers. But when you grow up, you know that's not. Right? It could be, some people are interested, but that's not the case. So what people need and what they want to become could change. So we are not actually educating people to become doctors and engineers, but you are preparing them to the real world so that they will make sound decisions. Okay? So that when they make that decision, they don't regret it later. Okay, when they come to the community, they become actually productive individuals. And of course, that could, the things that I mentioned are all, those skills are important in able to be able to do just that. Okay, I think my time is over and I even over the time. Thank you.